Hello, Drew, Elijah, Chera, Kevin. Just wanted to say hello to you guys and see what's going on for Woods 3. I want to do a project, and I still have plans on doing a project. I want to wait until I talk to everybody. But I want it to be a project that involves some hand tools, and I want it to be a project that I know that you're going to use in the future. Not just something to fill the time, to fill your boredom. I'll give you some extra wood in addition to what you'll need to make the project if you just want to mess around and try some different joinery and things like that. But what we'll make it is something very important to every shop and outdoors too. If you don't have a shop in the future, sawhorses. But they're going to be good sawhorses. So I'm going to get some materials together for us to do those. We'll probably make them out of walnut and ash, two materials that I have on hand here. Make the legs out of ash and the top out of walnut. It'll be nice and pretty. It'll probably be the prettiest sawhorse in town. But anyways, today what I wanted to start with was putting an edge on a tool, like a chisel or a hand plane or something like that you want to get a sharp edge on it just to be able to work with. So I'm not going to be talking about if you find a chisel that's got a big nick out of the front of it, and that nick is because someone tried to pull a nail out with a chisel or something like that. This is not going to be helpful for that because that has to be reground. That has to go all the way back to the beginning, get it square at the top, and then put a new bevel on it. And to be very honest with you, for about $4 per chisel, you can take that to a professional sharpener and he'll put the angle on it that you need, and it'll be professionally done. And then you'll just be at the step where we're at right now, putting a new clean edge on it. This is Oliver. Oliver is my son. He's 9 years old. He just beat Zelda today, who did the Breath of the Wild. I'm not too crazy about them being inside all the time. And this is Elliot. Elliot's 7, and I did not tell them to dress alike today. They decided to do that. That was their own thing. So what I want to talk about is a couple different ways of doing that. In fact, 3 different ways of doing that. So at one station here I have, this is a shelf from an old cabinet that I was not used anymore, so we got rid of. The shelf is 1/4 inch. You put it right here. This is Olive. This is my shop cat. She good. Say hello, Olive. She comes around with me. She's an outdoor cat, but she likes hanging around, and she comes to the shop whenever I'm over here. So she is fun to have in the shop. But right now she's right. Hey, Olive.
Olive, you gotta move over.
She's in front of the camera here. So, but she lives outside, and she's neat. I just over this whole coronavirus realized that she enjoys being in the shop as much as she does. She also likes to find mice in here. In another video, I'll show you guys my shop completely. But for this one's just going to be putting a new edge on. So I have 2 chisels here, and these are the first set of chisels that I ever got. My grandfather gave me these they're Craftsman chisels, and I've used them for a lot of different things through the years. Mainly construction, though, not a lot of fine woodworking. So if we look at the edge of this, you can see that this is a pretty old chisel. It still has a straight edge at the top. It doesn't have any big nicks out of it. But a couple things that we want to do. And the first thing is we want to get a nice flat back on this that is going to be shiny. Okay, we want to get any of the machine marks that are on here out of here so that we're looking at what the sandpaper has done or what the stones have done to this. So I'm going to start off with which is probably going to be the method that most people will use in here. Because in the future you don't want to have to go out and buy all the stones that I'm going to show you. So we can do basically what I'm doing here with just a sheet of sandpaper. So I have a sheet of 220 sandpaper, and this is very cheap sandpaper. This is Harbor Freight sandpaper. I have 200 grit, I have a 500 grit, and I have a 1000 grit. Generally these high grits here are considered wet dry sandpaper where you can put some water on them, and the water helps to disperse any of the metal that you've removed from the chisel to make it easier to cut. The 220, however, is not. So I'm going to start with the 220, and I'm just going to try to give myself a good back to this. And I'm going to also try to get this in an area that you guys can see what I'm doing a little bit better. Okay, so I'm holding my sandpaper down, and I'm working just the back part of the chisel here. The glass, what's the importance of that? It's flat. Glass is flat. I would normally do this on, if we're in the shop at school, I would do this on like the joiner bed table or the table saw. But I really don't like doing that because the sandpaper has stones in it and it'll actually scratch the table surface there. So this piece of glass is ideal because it's Not worth anything to me, other than what I'm using it for. I'm keeping it flat with the handle off the edge of the table here. And I'm just putting pressure down onto it and moving around in a circle, trying to get any of the machine marks. This is 220, so this is pretty aggressive grit for metal. But you can see I'm starting to get this a little bit more of a shine. I can still see some marks in there from the manufacturer when they gave me this. So I want those out, because that's going to tell me I have a flat surface. I still see some machine marks, so I'm going to go a little bit more. And I'm making sure that I hold this flat against this glass. It can't be tilted. This back section here is supposed to be one flat plane. That never gets angled, and that's a mistake that a lot of people make, is they put an angle on the back edge of this. This is flat, this is the angle. A little bit more, I can still see some machine marks on here. I'll turn my sandpaper so I can get some fresh grit. And now it looks like I have that all. So that was my 220. Now I'll move to my 500. And this time I'm going to go in here, I'm going to put a little bit of water on top of this. And the water is going to act as a lubricant and also to help move the metal that I've already sharpened. Or that comes off during the sharpening process, I should say. So now you can see that this is getting shinier on the back there. Okay. That looks pretty good. All right. Now I'm going to move up to my 1000 grit. And again, I'm going to put some water on here. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to go back to my 220, and I'm going to do now my bevel. So how do I find my bevel angle? I tilt it until it looks like it's down up against that, and I can hold it kind of steadily at this angle. Now with this, I really want to make sure that I'm moving my shoulder in addition. If I'm just using my arm, you can see my whole body's kind of getting into this motion. That way it's easier for me to maintain this angle. You know, you can buy all kinds of like honing guides that will hold this thing at that angle constantly, so you won't get any deviation from that angle. But for our purposes, and what I'm trying to instruct you here is that we don't need all that. Okay, to get a good sharp edge on this, we can just do it how I'm doing it here. Now I want to see those two areas that you can see there going away. I want them gone. One thing that this doesn't do that chisels really do like is to have a hollow back. And that's that this angle wouldn't be perfectly flat. It would be a little bit like curved in like that. Curved like this. And the reason is because when we go and sharpen this thing, we do it on a round stone. So it puts a little bit of a hollow because of the circumference of the stone that's on there. And that gives us a really sharp edge. But what we're doing here is we're going to work fine for what we're doing. Each stroke is removing material. You can see this is getting smaller as I'm going along here. And you can also feel on the back side that it's kind of has created a burr, so this is not flat anymore. Elliot, do you want to feel that? Put your finger across that. Do you feel like a little burr back there? Oh, we want to feel that?
I can kind of see it.
Feel how it gets like a little edge there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We're going to go back and get that later on. smaller. I'm going to live with that. So let's take off that little bird one pass, and now I'll move on to my 500 grit. Do the same thing. Good. Clean up the back side of that. Move to my 1000 grit. And clean up the back side again. One more pass. And back side one last time. So that's the sharpness that we got with just using 3 pieces of sandpaper here. And I'm going to grab a random piece of wood. Here's a piece of maple that I had been using in the past, just to show you what kind of sharp edge we have on that. Okay, so that does a very nice job of cutting that edge. If you use the bevel side down, you have more control, but you can see how that's curling up the material. And this is maple, so this is not a real soft material. This is a harder material, but just sits there and takes off the piece just like that. Okay, and you can see how that bites into the wood very well. Chisels are not to be used on metal or anything like that. So that was using sandpaper. People also use stones. So here is a carborundum stone where it has a coarse side and a smooth side on it. And it's the exact same thing that you would do here. A lot of times they use an oil, a honing oil to go over that. I'm not using that here. But that would be with the stone there. And that does a pretty good job also. It's just you have to buy that. Sandpaper, very inexpensive way of doing this. All right, last thing I want to show you is if I used what are called water stones. So I have a water stone here, which is a you can read on the side there, it's an 800, number 800 water stone. And that should fit in there better than it is right now. Let's see why that's not. Okay, it's held in there. And the last thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my hold down, take that there, and then I'll smack that down with a mallet. And I'll do the same thing with this. This time I'm going in circular, well I was before with the flat part here, circular motions. Some people you'll see use a figure 8. I'm not really sure what the best method of doing that figure 8 or back and forth is. But this is going to give it a much more polished look here. I like to go this method because I feel like I'm wearing the stone more evenly. A lot of times these stones, after much use, are going to get dished out in the middle, which will work against trying to get a nice flat back to this. So that's the back, and now I'll do the front here. I'm working kind of like a W pattern here. Get that front edge. Okay. So that's my 800 grit. I'll go one last time on the bottom. And then I'll switch out my 800 grit for the next level, which is going to be a 1200 grit, it says on the side. So that goes in between. And now I'll get the bottom here. Okay. And I'll go ahead and get the other side. And get that looking pretty dang good. You see that back is really starting to polish up there. I'm gonna do a little bit more on the back. Water stones are a Japanese thing, and these stones here probably cost me together probably 60 bucks. That's why I'm saying that sandpaper is probably what you guys are going to use, because you don't want to spend the money for these. And that is completely understandable.
I know.
Okay, lastly, so I've gone 1200 with the stones. Last thing I'm going to use is a very fine king stone here, which is I should probably have a better way of holding that in there. It's not held down real well as it is. But I'm going to get this thing wet. And I'll use some of my water here.
We have to tell her.
And I put a little bit on here. Okay, and that water, this the final stone here just gets a slurry of stone, which is called a Nagura stone. So this Nagura stone I'm going to wipe over top of the wet stone. Cleans things out and gives me a nice slurry now that I can go back and get the bottom here. Okay, I'm going to put a little more water on there, clean that surface a little bit. The water helps to remove material that I'm removing from the chisel off of my surface, so I get nice clean sharpening. I'm going to go back and get that again. Now, can you see the mirror finishes on there? What do you think, Oliver? Pretty clean finish?
Mm-hmm.
And on the back side as well, a mirror finish. So give me that piece of wood, Oliver, that piece of maple that I was cutting before. Grab me that. So this gives me a really nice sharp edge here, which should be able to cut hair. Not that you guys really wanted to see that or not, but that's cuts the hair off my arm pretty easily. So this is a nice sharp chisel here, and this is what you want to work with. So this video has taken me what? It's 19 minutes, but I've been kind of talking about whatever during this as well. So those are the methods that I have to show you. The one last stone that is out here, and I use this stone a lot if I am just trying to get an edge on here that's quicker. So with this one here, this is called a diamond plate stone. And it's the same thing. Hold the flat side down the back. Work the back of the blade. And we want to get the whole surface. You can see how it's shiny here, not in the ends. So I want to go back and keep going with that. So I have a bit to go. In fact, I might want to go back to the 220 with this one. But diamond stones come in a lot of different grits also. And you could spend as much as $300 for diamond stones if you wanted to. But far and away, the one that's probably most useful for people who are not professional woodworkers and not doing fine woodworking is the sandpaper, because it gives you a quick edge that you can work with. Okay? Here, I'm going to show you guys the shop. These are my deer. It's my light that lights up for the deer there. I have my I'll flip it around here so I can see what's going on. Hey guys. It's not flipping very easily for me. Let's see what that does. Well, so here's my routers up at the top there, my stereo, my cabinets, my shop cat. Okay, that's that room. This room is the room where my machines are. So in my shop, I have an 8-inch joiner. I have a table saw. This is that saw stop device that has the electronics in it. In fact, I can show you. The electronics are right here for the saw stop. I have a router table that's up on the top here that I can get my vacuum connected to pretty easily. A belt sander, disc sander combination, and underneath I have a small planer. Okay. So what I've been working on here, guys, because I'm not going to be showing you the other videos where it has it, I also have a bandsaw. I've been working on getting my blacksmith shop ready, so I had to put new windows in. They're in now. I have been putting a new window in the back of my room where my shop vacuum system is going to go into. And there was another hole in the side, so we decided to put another window in here. So Oliver and I put this siding on yesterday. It was a little bit of work getting that all together, but we did a good job with that. Back out there's the river, the Manatawny. So this is where we're going to be working on potentially a sawhorse with you guys. I have some sawhorses here that are pretty cheapos, not wonderful sawhorses. I have to walk around the shop. Oh, by the way, let me show you this. You guys will think this is interesting. Somebody left their bike here. I don't know, maybe 30 years ago? What's your guess how long ago that bike has been there? I'm not sure, but it's pretty well into the tree. That you can see. But it's a cool little Schwinn one with the monkey handlebars and the big banana seat. Some other sawhorses I have, and it's going up the tree there. That's where I have some wood storage in there. And go back inside the shop again.
Dad, I wanted to show you something. There's like 7 ladybugs up here.
Oh, Oliver's concerned about these ladybugs. But anyways, I also have in the area here some arrowheads that were found in Ole. Clamp rack. Anyhow, this first week, I'm just going to be getting in touch with you guys about what we want to do. In terms of what the requirements are for this first week, I want you guys to make a comment about what you just saw today, either the shop or the sharpening, or if you want to say how cute this little guy is, that can be done also. But I want to also drop off those materials and some hand tools to your house so that you guys are able to work on those things at home. So I'll bring some clamps over and some wood. We're fortunate because we have such a small class that we can get all this stuff done. All right. Very good, guys. I will talk to you soon. Give me a comment on the Google Classroom. You don't need to email me. Just do it on the Google Classroom. We can all read what everybody else is saying. Okay. All right, guys. I'll talk to you soon.